to order. As the first order of business will be to roll call by our city clerk.
Councilmember Jackson?
Here.
Councilmember Silva?
Present.
Councilmember Garcia?
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Villegas Walker?
Here.
Mayor Cardenas is absent.
Okay. If you would all please stand now, and we will be led in the Pledge of Allegiance by Councilmember Silva, and remain standing, please, for the invocation.
Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Could you please bow your heads? Heavenly Father, we're so thankful that we could come together tonight to take those actions that are in the best interest of this community. Please help us to be ever mindful of the many blessings that you bestow upon us. How grateful we are for every blessing. Help us, please, to remember how vital and important and inspiring hope can be, and help us to be that hope to those that we come in contact with. And all these things we pray in thy precious name. Amen. Okay, so in the absence of our mayor, I'll be moving the meeting along this evening. So we will ask now for our city attorney's report on closed session.
There's no report, Madam Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you. This is a bittersweet moment. We have a presentation for a retirement plaque for David Obeso. 31 years of outstanding and dedicated service to the city of El Centro. It's our lead utility field representative. Now, I know that we have lots of folks in the audience that have worked with Mr. Obeso. I'm wondering if anyone would like to say a few words on his behalf. Okay, don't all rush up here, then. Everybody hates public speaking, I think, right? Everyone? Well, except for the attorneys. Well, okay, so I'll just say, okay, could we have Mr. Obeso come forward? And like I said, this is a bittersweet moment for us. You have so many years of valuable experience and knowledge, and we are just really, really grateful that you made your career here with the city of El Centro, and we are really happy that we can celebrate this time with you to mark the occasion of your retirement after 31 years.
Thank you.
So do you have a few words of wisdom as you depart for the next outstanding chapter of your life?
I just want to take the time to thank everyone, especially all my coworkers that I've had a privilege to work with and alongside. In many years, I've gone through a lot of leadership, and so I want to thank my most recent Director of Public Works, Terry Hagan, my supervisor, Hector Munoz, and I also want to acknowledge that throughout the years, it's always taken a lot of teamwork, and I want to acknowledge customer service. Those young ladies over there were a vital part of operations out in the field, and so I want to thank their supervisor, Nana Herbert, as well as Leticia, and just not enough good things to say. I think that El Centro continues to be at the forefront with their vision for the future, and it was a great pleasure, but I've now begun already my next chapter in my life. It involves a lot of athletics, so I'll be quite busy. As a matter of fact, I have practice waiting for me after this. So.
Oh, we will hurry along then. Any comments, Jason, or?
Yeah. I'll just say, thank you for your 31 years, and I'm sure we'll be calling you because you probably know where things are that nobody else knows.
Okay.
That's right. How do I fix this?
Yeah, where's this pipe and where's this, that, and so, but 31 years, I don't see that very often anymore. I think the generations have changed now where people don't spend a whole career at one place, and so it says a lot about you and your character, and hopefully it says something about the city of El Centro that you were willing to stay here for 31 years. So thank you for your service.
Thank you very much.
David, I want to say that I'm really jealous of you because I think you and I started working at the city in my previous life right around the same time, and now you're retiring, and I still have a long way to go before I can retire. But not only, yeah, I know. Not only were you an excellent employee, but you were a heck of an athlete. And I remember having conversations with you when I worked for the city about track and field, which is your passion and as well as my passion. And I see that that's probably your next chapter in your life, and you're going to do something that you enjoy, that you're going to mentor and coach the future generations of athletes and young people in Imperial Valley. And that's so commendable. I don't like the name that you have on your shirt, but that maybe that's a that's a little bit of a bias. But all those young people that you're going to be in contact with are just going to benefit from your expertise, from your wisdom. And so the good work that you did with the city is going to continue benefiting society, benefiting our good athletes, and I want to commend you for that as well. So congratulations, and enjoy this chapter of your life.
Thank you so much.
I just wanted to say thank you for the 31 years of dedicated service to the city. It's a remarkable accomplishment to have such a good long career, especially at one place nowadays. But also, I'd like to wish you all the luck and enjoyment in your future endeavors.
Thank you.
So now we're going to come down and take a picture, and since the mayor's not here and I get to set the rules, I'm going to ask Terry to come up and Leticia to come up, and if there's anyone else that you would like in the picture.
I thought you were going to ask for a chair or something.
Stop it, I'm not asking for a chair. I'm going to vote you off the aisle. Okay, scrunch. So I think the rule is if we lose an employee with 31 years of experience, we have to hire 4 new ones to replace you. So Terry, you better get with that. Okay, at this time, we're going to move on to our regularly scheduled public comments. First is our El Centro Chamber of Commerce monthly report. Welcome, Les.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Villegas Walker. This is my the second time that I'm here for my last presentation to the City Council on behalf of the Chamber of Commerce. Next week, I'll be a past president. So, speaking of which, our annual dinner is next Thursday evening, June 15th. It'll be out at the Mirage Club at the base. We are very happy with the turnout so far. We had a goal of selling 150 tickets, and as of today, we were over 190.
Wow.
So that's very encouraging. I want to remind everyone that you must have your ticket to get on base. It's going to be a lot simpler to get on base. You should have received tickets, and you shouldn't even have to show ID or anything. Just with that ticket, you should get on base. So that'll be nice and simple and easier. Coming up in September, we'll have the second annual Imperial Valley Girls Rock. Nominations are open for that. It was a very successful event last year. We already have some nominations. The Air Show Gala Fashion Show will be coming up in October on the 7th. I know it's only June, but those things get here all too quick. And I'm happy to say that the Chamber Foundation gave out 16 scholarships throughout the valley to high school and college students for next year. So that's very good for our first year.
What was the total on that list? Do you remember? 16 scholarships totaling?
$4,000. They were
$4,000.
$250 each.
And they weren't just for El Centro, right?
No, it was the whole valley. Yeah,
I thought
yeah,
that
it was, yeah.
outstanding.
Calexico, Imperial, Calapat, Hopeville. Yeah, so they're very good representation. And in closing, I'd just like to say that at our executive board meeting today, we discussed the fact that there's been a lot of negative comments about the work on 8th Avenue or on 8th Street. And, you know, you always hear the complaints and gripes. But, you know, anyway, at the chamber, we want to congratulate the city and thank you for the wonderful improvements that is on 8th. And we've even heard worries and concern that we're going to have to change the route of the Christmas parade because of those islands down there by the school. But we think the benefit of improving the kids' safety there at the schools far outweighs the minimal inconvenience of the band spreading out to go around those little islands. So anyway, good job.
Thank you.
That concludes my report.
Any questions? We look forward to the dinner next
Okay,
Thursday.
see you next week.
Thank you. Okay, next is a presentation by the District Attorney's Office regarding human trafficking campaign posters.
Yes. As you can see, I'm not Deborah Owen. We just wanted to let the council members know about this. There's a law in California that we have to post these notices, or rather the businesses have to post these notices to notify victims of human trafficking that may pass through our county, that there is help out there. There is a concern given that we're so close to the border. But these notices basically have to go up in a number of businesses. We have identified those throughout the county, and we will be taking the notices to them and informing them of the law and that they need to post those. The law states that if they fail to comply with that after they've been notified and given the information, there's a fine of $500 for a first offense and $1,000 for each subsequent offense. We hope that there will be a compliance. I wouldn't think there won't be if we provide the notices. I think it's pretty simple and should be not take up too much space in the businesses. But it's basically any business that it's anything working on the person. You know, hair stations, nails, massage places, bus stations, emergency rooms, farm labor contractors, recruitment centers, rest stops, truck stops, and urgent care centers. That kind of describes the businesses. So we just wanted to let the council members know in case you receive any questions from the business owners, and feel free to contact our office if you need any more information.
Excellent. So I've actually seen some of these up and around in other locations. So did you have any questions or comments?
No questions.
Jason?
Heather, where's the 800 number? Where's it go to?
You know, I'm not sure about that. I think it's an 800 number that is from the state that provides questions. I think that was the number we were given.
Okay.
No, I think I'm gonna take this and probably post this at IBC somewhere in a visible location, because this is just,
Sure. And if
unfortunately,
anybody,
something, the reality that we have to face, and that there are victims. Sometimes we don't think that they are, but, you know, I think that the reality is that there is.
and if anybody needs more notices, you can also contact our office. There is a human trafficking task force here in the Valley, so I'm guessing that that number will refer to that task force, and then they will investigate any claims.
Thank you.
I guess that's my question, Heather, is if someone is like at a restaurant, sees your poster, or sees this poster, not your poster, sees this poster, calls the resource center, and this is like an immediate, I need help now.
Yes.
Is that, do we know, are they instructed to call 911? Are they told
Yes, there
to-
will be somebody to answer the calls, and I think they will instruct them to call 911 if it's an emergency, well, which they should do. But we also have, if it's something, maybe somebody's reporting that they believe there may be human trafficking going on, they're not the actual victim,
Right,
then that would be referred to be investigated.
okay.
And we do have a task force that involves federal, state, and local agencies working together on that crime.
Okay, excellent, excellent. Did, Chief, did you have anything to add with regard to the department's response? No? Okay, very good, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay, moving on, item number 4 of our scheduled public comments is Spectrum Advertising Services. City Council had requested that this come to us because we know you provide a wealth of services to us in the city. We just wanted an update on how things are going.
Let me get this going here. We got a PowerPoint here.
And I bet you're getting a lot of crossover calls asking for
Oh
cable
my God,
hookup, huh?
unbelievable. Yeah, at first it was one of those, well, good evening, members of the council and honorable Mayor Pro Tem. My name is Fernando Zavala, and I represent Spectrum. And yes, we get a lot of calls. At first it was one of those things that we thought it was going to be kind of like, yeah, funny, you know, at one point. But then all of a sudden you have people coming in all the time, and it's just one of those things that, okay, we're not the cable company anymore. But, you know, it's one of those things. Maybe we get more business from that, huh? Who never know. So today, I'm going to talk to you briefly about some of the services that we provide for the city of El Centro. We've been lucky enough to be contracted by the city since 2006. And we've been in business since 1989 for 28 years under the leadership of Rob Zimmer, which is the owner of the company. So we do a lot of services for the city of El Centro, and that's one of the things that I'm here for, and talk to you a little bit about that. Usually I'm on the other end, and I'm the one that's asking the questions when I have you on film, but it's good to talk to you guys a little bit about what it is that we're doing out there at Spectrum. So let me proceed here. So like I said, Spectrum has been around since 1989. It's a company that was founded by Mr. Rob Zimmer here in El Centro. And we've been fortunate enough to be a member of this community. We've invested a lot of time, with local businesses, private sector, public sector. And we've grown all outside the region as well, all the way to Coachella Valley, Yuma, and also San Diego. Also on a binational level, the way to Mexicali, which I've been lucky enough to work with some of your councils out there and doing a lot of outreach. So, yeah, we've been pretty, I like to say, pretty successful doing some of those things. Some of the services that are provided at Spectrum, we do quite a bit, but some of those are strategic planning, media buying, creative development, advertising and production, direct marketing, graphic design, online marketing, web analysts, public relations, product placement, and signage. Those are, in the whole spectrum, that's all of our services that we provide. A lot of those are services that we provide for you. Some of them, I'm hoping that in the near future, we'll be able to provide, such as media buying. We do quite a bit of media buying with the rest of our clients, casinos and other businesses. So that gives us a lot of buying power, to getting an extra incentive when we do that kind of placement on a large scale. So, those are services that I look forward to doing with you in the future. Our services to the city of El Centro, we're going to talk about the stuff that we do for you. We do a lot of flyers, a lot of communications. We work with Liz Zarate, who is, I would like to say, very, very easy to work with. She provides us all the information and that is needed to communicate as far as the message. You see some of the events that we have out there, City of El Centro Day at the ballpark, Christmas tree lighting and street fair, the Veteran Military Appreciation Parade, veteran memorials. So these flyers are work with Liz Zarate and some of your other staff members, which we are then approve, and we get it out and send out to your constituents to go ahead and see what's going on in our community. We also do a lot of internal communication. Again, we work with staff. As you can see, we have a Ride a Bike flyer there, 2006 Employee Awards, Light Desert, contest, Bread Techniques, and Howdy Partners. Those are a lot of internal communications that we also work with Liz and Marcela Piedra here, our deputy city manager in the past, and some of the artwork is there displayed. Invitations, as you can see, we also do plenty of those throughout the years. Those are not always the same. They tend to change on a monthly basis, but some of the ones that we've done in the past are the El Centro Sidewalk Skate Park, which was actually a very successful event. The Vision 2050 Plan Stratégico, that we work under the leadership of Efraín Silva. The reorganization ceremony, which we also, when we do those invitations, those come along with a lot of video work, which I'm going to be talking to later on in the PowerPoint. The Veterans Memorial, we also do that as well. And the Mayor's Housing Development Roundtable. So those are some of the invitations that we work with, like I said, on a monthly basis. They tend to change depending on the direction that is given over to us. Community newsletters. This is a very good and effective way to engage with your constituents, to find out what's going on within a specific time of year, whether it is winter, summer, spring. We work again under the leadership of Liz Zarate. She provides us the information that is needed to go under the newsletters. Then we put it together, send it out for approval, And we then put it on a digital base, which is your website. And it's actually a very effective way. It saves paper, and it's easy way for your constituents to go back and go look at this newsletter, see what's going on, and it can be viewed from anywhere that the web is displayed. Employee newsletters, this is a very effective way that the council, the city communicates with its employees as well. All this information, again, is given to the department heads, then transferred over the list, and list then communicates with us. We meet on a daily, on a weekly basis, whether it is through email, or we visit her, or she goes over to Spectrum, and then we could exchange information. We then put it together, and as you can see, some of the examples are there in front of you. We also do a lot of video production. This is actually a very fun part that I particularly enjoy, because I get to attend a lot of the events. And there's no better way to communicate with your constituents than really showing them what it is that the city of El Centro is doing out there for everyone, for kids, parks, street fairs. This is a very effective way. These videos are pretty much evergreen, which are then displayed and put on your website. It's useful in newsletters. And it's a way to show off what it is that you're doing out there, for the constituents to see where all the tax dollars are being spent. So this video production is the fun part that I really enjoy, and hope you guys do too. As you can see, we have more samples here of more video production that we have. We have El Grito in the background. We have, I believe, is the Mardi Gras parade, which is always a fun event. You have a lot of people, attending those. And again, all these videos are displayed on your website. And anybody that can go out there and see how much activity the city of El Centro has going on. And well, again, we've been lucky enough to be a part of the city's growth. And to have it on film is something that is pretty magical. Miscellaneous, there's things that come here and go, and special needs from council, from city departments, and under the direction of, again, Lizarate, she tells us what it is that it needs to be communicated. We go ahead and put it together, send it out for approval. Once we get going, then we go ahead and disseminate the product. Again, we have another samples here of us working with the police department, the Imperial Valley 250, which you guys were a major part of. Sponsors. We've also put some displays, some banners out there. Special plaque recognitions when Ms. Sanders was here. Let's see here. Photography, as you can see, Emilio was right now. He's the one that does the recording of events. He takes a lot of the photography for the city, which is then displayed again in the website or newsletters or anywhere in particular that the city desires these pictures to be. We got more photography here. We have Mayor Alex Cardenas here. So that pretty much sums up, a lot of the services that we do. Again, this is on a monthly basis. It tends to change depending on the needs of the council, the needs of the staff. But we pretty much are at your, you let us know what it is that you need. We're 2 blocks away, and we go ahead and try to fulfill your needs and please the council and please the city. So I don't know if you have any questions for me at this point.
I'm going to start down here with
Yes.
Mr. Jackson, Mr. Silva.
Not so much a question. I'll just make a comment that, in the 5 or 6 years I've been on the council, I've certainly appreciated the work that Spectrum's done, especially last year as my year as mayor, and we did the Veterans Memorial and a lot of other events during the year. And I think as council members, we really see the partnership that we have with Spectrum when we become mayor, because you really are working, hand in hand with your staff. And I think everyone can probably say, Cheryl also, is that, through the state of the city, through just events, ribbon cuttings, the annual events that we attend to, Christmas tree lighting and everything, that's all stuff that's really handled by Spectrum and makes us and puts us in a good light. So I appreciate, all the work that we did last year. I appreciate the work that you guys do every year for us, but especially last year when I was mayor. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Councilman.
I think likewise, the quality of the work that's done by you guys is just amazing. And, I kind of went back in time and looked at those pictures, and it's you're always there. You're always publicizing the city. I think it's a great venue for our citizens, not just from El Centro, but throughout Imperial Valley to see what we do and the quality of life that we provide our citizens. And, just keep it up, and that's all I can say. I also want to make note of the translations that are done by Spectrum into Spanish are just top quality. I mean, even the accent, which I don't know, but how to do that, but they do an amazing job, and it's not literal translation, but culturally sensitive translations on all the material, and that's really important for all of us.
Thank you, Councilman.
I've always been impressed by the quality of work that Spectrum has put out, from the flyers to the videos that you guys have done, and the time and effort that I've seen you, Fernando, and of course all your other employees when you come to the events, and just to really get the message out of what the city's doing and making sure that the constituents are engaged, even if they can't make it to the event, they can still go online and basically feel like they're there just because of the coverage that you guys give it and the great videos that you put together. So just keep up the good work, and we hope to continue this partnership.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Councilman.
A couple of things. You're also involved with our bus shelters, I thought?
We do. We do more services. Obviously, this is pretty much
Okay.
going under the whole spectrum of your monthly
Okay.
retainer. But we do quite a bit of other services. But the bus shelters, we also do it throughout the city of El Centro. We make sure that they're clean, they stay off graffiti. So we always make sure that we, at least from that perspective, that we can showcase the bus shelters throughout the city.
And
Yes.
it looks like the advertising has just been refreshed recently in the
Yes.
bus shelter, so I wanted to let you know, I really appreciate that. And the
Yes.
website redesign?
Yes, we've also
were
did that
involved
as well.
in? Okay.
Exactly.
So, I mean, you gave us a lot of great things to be proud of, about, and really excited, and you left out two really big ones too. So do well with both of those. I appreciate that you always make me look taller than I am. So. No, I agree. Everyone here, we really do celebrate the partnership that we have with Spectrum. And again, give our best to the Zimmers and thank them for allowing you to come and wow us with all the services.
I sure will. Thank you so much,
Great.
Mayor Pro Tem. And one
Thank
last
you.
thing under the retainer, just to FYI, one of the council meetings that is recorded, it's free of charge, once a month. So that's also important, I think, for the council to know.
Thanks.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much.
Okay, we are moving on then to the consent agenda, which is items 5 through 12. Is there anyone that would like to pull any items from the consent agenda? Okay, very good. Then we'll be looking for a motion to approve consent items 5 through 12. Okay, that passes 4-0 and one abstention, or one absence. We'll move on then to public hearing. Item number 13, wastewater treatment plant improvements, design, build, contract. Mr. Hagan.
Thank you, Mayor and council members. We have Valerie Hutchin from Snyder Electric to do a presentation here, and then if you have any questions, Randy and I are both here, and she has other staff as well, so we'll respond to those. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hagan.
Well, good evening, Mayor Pro Tem Villegas Walker, members of the council, city attorney, staff, and community. Thank you for having me here tonight with you. I'm Valerie Houchin with Schneider Electric, and I'm joined by Chris Klaus with Schneider Electric, as well as Julian Palacios with NV5. And tonight we'd like to provide you with a brief overview, and I mean brief, less than 10 minutes, of the wastewater treatment plant CIP and efficiency projects for your consideration and approval. And we are free to answer any questions along the way or at the end. So before I get started, I'm reminded of a council meeting that I attended a while ago where a woman was enthusiastically presenting a conditions assessment of your streets and roads. And I just want to share with you, believe it or not, I'm as enthusiastic about wastewater as she is about streets and roads. So I promise to keep this lively in the short time that we have tonight. So I just wanted to provide a quick recap of how we got here. And back in the spring of 2015, we started discussions with Ruben Duran, Terry Hagan, and Randy Hines, really about the interest in wastewater improvement projects and explaining how Schneider does business. Following that, we got approval from the City Council in September 2016 to proceed with design of the wastewater improvement projects. And here we are tonight. As a result, we're bringing forth the design efforts for a not-to-exceed construction agreement. So when the city approved Schneider moving forward with design back in September of 2016, I just wanted to point out that we're doing this as an energy services company using California Government Code 4217. So this code is something I live and breathe every day, but I realize that not everybody may be familiar with this code. So I just wanted to provide a quick overview. This enabling legislation was passed in California in 1983, and it's specifically for projects that have something to do with energy. It's been used hundreds of times within California, and really every state in the United States has their own form of this type of legislation. So why this was passed was it's designed to give public entities such as the City of El Centro the greatest flexibility to develop these types of projects. Are there any questions about that? Okay. So shifting gears, want to talk about reviewing the city's 5-year strategic planning program and the projects specifically that support resource sustainability goal number 5. And that is the sewer lining, bar screen, emergency generators, and improving indoor air quality. There's 6 areas that I'm going to briefly touch on that support this goal, and then we'll actually talk about the projects and the funding. So a big focus of this project is infrastructure, and I know that wastewater isn't super exciting, but again, I've been out to your wastewater plant more times than I can count, and there's some really cool things going on. So a lot of these projects are really just about maintaining your assets and ensuring that you're going to have reliability of these assets for years to come. Operations. So another aspect of this project has to do with the fact that some of our staff members are actually former wastewater treatment plant operators. So they see this same project the way that Randy and Felix do in the plant, and together we come up with ideas of how we can improve plant performance. Further, we look at energy. How can we reduce the energy spend of the wastewater treatment plant, as that's one of your highest energy users within the city? So for example, in the aeration projects we've proposed, that will reduce aeration or energy costs by over 29%, which is great. So financially speaking, the city is obviously in a very good position in their enterprise fund to pay for this project. But I did want to point out that because of the energy savings involved, we're able to apply for about a $1.5 million grant to help fund this project, which is really awesome. So again, I mentioned this procurement code, Government Code 4217, and because of this code and the design build delivery, we've had a streamlined process of making a lot of impact over the last 9 months in design. And this has allowed us to make substantial progress. And as a city, there's the assurance that Schneider Electric is the single point of accountability. It says, hello, I'm accountable. I know that's a little silly, but just to make the point that we're accountable for the design, the construction, and project performance. And lastly, this goes great in line with the presentation you just had from Spectrum about positive branding. You're already doing so much great promotion of the things that are going on in El Centro, and this is just another example of a positive story you can share. There's a lot of awards we can apply for within CWA or some other trade organizations about this design, build, delivery, and the grants we're able to achieve through this program. These are some of the areas that we have helped cities get this message out around things that are going around their city. So next, we'd like to discuss the projects included in this program. We're not going to get super technical here, but really just want to point out the reasons why they're included in this program. So first, this is just a map showing the wastewater treatment plant, an aerial view. So La Boucherie Road's there on the right-hand side. And then you can't really tell, but it's just a bunch of dirt right now. Soon there will be, hopefully, a new bar screen. And then behind that, closer on the left-hand side of the screen, that's where your aeration basins and the emergency generators are located right behind that. So there are 4 main measures included in this project. Just to go over them briefly, measure 1 is to install a bar screen at pump station 3 within the plant. Right now, the pump station does not have screening, and so by implementing this measure, you will have 100% screening of all the wastewater coming into the plant. So this is really going to help catch all the debris right when it enters the plant, and that's going to help overall performance of the processes downstream. So this has been a project that's been a high priority for the city for a while. The second one has to do with the aeration basins. This is where a lot of the energy savings are coming from because the aeration process is the most energy-intensive process of really any wastewater treatment plant. So we'll be replacing some really old blower equipment that's over 25 years old, as well as providing controls to optimize the aeration process. Measure 3 includes 2 parts. First is bringing a central monitoring hub or screen into the plant so that the operators can see what's going on with some of the major lift stations. And then the other part of Measure 3 is replacing the diesel emergency generators with natural gas generators. So that's obviously good for the environment, but you also want to have the reliability of those generators. And then lastly is the sewer line replacement. It's actually focused on relining some of the most critical areas based on the city staff's recommendations. So any questions on the scope of work itself? Got a lot of engineers in the room where we could just talk about this all night.
We good so far?
Okay.
Okay.
So funding sources. So we worked with the city to identify funding sources that are available for this project. The first comes from the Wastewater Bond Fund account, and you can see the amount there available, as well as the wastewater capacity fees. So those 2 sources of funding fully fund the project. But I did mention that we're also applying for that grant, which is about $1.5 million. So assuming that goes through, that money can just be reinvested into the enterprise fund and can help fund other projects.
And Valerie, where's
Yeah.
the source of that funding? It's a grant that's being applied. Is that state, federal funding? Is it a private? I don't know.
It's the state, right? It's the State Water Resources Control Board.
Program. Excellent.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. 1.5 million.
So any other questions on the funding sources? Okay. So when we got our design contract approved in September, we were actually on the consent agenda, so I didn't make a presentation to council. But in the council agenda report, this is just a list of the deliverables that we were responsible to the city for. So all of those things are being brought forth tonight. And the last one, the marketing and positive PR plan, that's something we want to work with the city officials after we're assuming we get a vote in the construction phase to help highlight some of the wins. So something that's a little unique is I don't think the city has done a lot of design build projects. So I just wanted to point out how this may be a little bit different than you're used to. But as a design build contractor, Schneider is responsible for both the design and construction. And so any subcontractors that we hire actually report to Schneider Electric and not to the city. And as such, we have a stringent qualification process for any subcontractors that report to us. In order to find subcontractors for this work, we actually had a 2-pronged approach that's listed here. So first, we held a disadvantaged business enterprise, or DBE, wastewater subcontractor qualification event. We actually had it here at council chambers on April 20th. We had that advertised in the local paper and also through the Small Business Association. And then we also reached out to 3 subcontractors with wastewater experience and shared with them the design drawings and explained the project to them as well. So I feel like we've kind of had a broad reach of reaching out to contractors who are available to work on this project.
Excellent.
Within your April 20th meeting where you had sounds like an open forum, did you get local businesses interested in this, and they pursue applications or the process to become subcontractors?
Unfortunately, we didn't have any DBE show up, and we actually had it advertised for 30 days. And I did have a DBE contractor call me, but he did like epoxy floor coverings, and he wasn't from the area. So it was advertised well. It's just, I feel like doing wastewater contracting is such a specific scope of work that there's just not a lot of contractors in the area that have that experience. So unfortunately, no, we didn't get any DBEs.
So do you anticipate within all the subcontractor work that you will be doing that it'll mostly be out-of-town contractors, given that you didn't see a strong interest or a strong pool of people, of companies?
I think that there'll be contractors both in Imperial County and probably San Diego County. Those will be the 2 counties. Some of the sewer line work, I think there's a contractor that may be more local to El Centro that we would consider using.
Okay.
Any other questions? So again, here we are just to recap the process and timeline. So again, back in September, we got approval to move forward with the design. And then really over the last 9 months, we've been doing engineering, design, and constructability review. And that brings us to today for your consideration and approval of the not to exceed construction contract. Assuming we get approval, then we're going to move into construction. As a design build contractor, we have on-site construction managers that then manage the phases of work as they're being built. So it's actually, that's the fun part when we get to dig up things and make stuff work. So we expect that with the scope of work, we'll have it completed by the end of December 2019. And so that concludes the lovely presentation on wastewater. Again, we really want to thank you for your time and attention, and we have a lot of people here to answer questions if you have anything you'd like to bring up. But again, we've enjoyed the partnership with the City of El Centro.
Great, thank you. Questions, comments? Valerie, I just had one quick one. Will any of the construction require any offlining of services? Will there be any disruption to current operations or service provided?
No, that's one thing we worked really hard to make sure that everything will remain online, and even when we're putting in that new bar screen, we're actually not even going to have to do any bypass pumping. We're kind of building around so that we can make quick connections and keep everything going. So that's something we really worked with Randy and Felix and our team to come up with some creative solutions. So good question.
Excellent. And you're right, it's not probably going to be the highlight of our month, but I know Mr. Silva and I are also on the hospital board, and we receive monthly updates by the project manager on how they're doing with the new medical office building. So would there be an opportunity to get updates on how things are going with the $15 million that you're going to be spending?
Absolutely.
Okay, that would be great.
That's why we have a construction team to provide regular communication of what's going on with the projects. Yes.
And can I just add that, so thank you for the presentation, and I think the reason why we don't have many questions, because this is a very high technical area, and so even within, when you were describing the scope of work, a lot of those things that's just foreign to me, but I rely on staff that they know what they're looking at and their recommendations, and I think, you know, wastewater is something that we don't think about until something goes wrong, and then we think about it. But this is obviously something that's going to benefit the city for years to come, and the savings that you're going to incur. I just want to go back and say that I hope that as you look for those subcontractors, that you really make an effort to find local help, local subcontractors when they're available and qualified to do the work, and we're interested in trying to keep our tax dollars in the local economy as best we can. Absolutely. And I know that you know, you have your own criteria, but I'm just going to encourage you to make a dedicated effort to try to find local contractors.
Absolutely.
Anything else? Okay, so why don't we have Mr. Hagan come up and tell us that this is all fantastic and we should approve the contract? Because like Mr. Silva said, we really do rely on staff and recommendations.
Well, I think it was back in, I'd have to check with Letitia, but it's been over 10 years since we went out to get those bonds. And we did the new water plant. And so now it's time to finish up using the bond money to do the work at the wastewater plant, as well as the sewer lines.
I think that's one of the things that we've always been very mindful of, is that we have the capacity. I think you've told us that we have the capacity for several decades into the future. And so that's right. Okay, so we're good?
We're good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you both. So, all right, we'll bring this back to council and see about a resolution number 17.
Mayor Pro Tem, this is a public hearing.
Oh, public hearing, I'm sorry. Is there anybody else that would like to talk to us about wastewater? Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing and look for a motion to adopt resolution number 17-51. A resolution of the City of El Centro, California, approving a construction agreement with Schneider Electric Buildings Americas, Inc. I have a motion and a second. That's approved 4-0. Thank you very much. Safe travels. Good luck with the construction. Keep us updated. Okay, thank you. All right, we are moving on then to item number 14, which is our graffiti ordinance. This was presented to the Community Enhancement Task Force. We had an opportunity to work with our city attorney with enhancements to the graffiti ordinance, which has now been provided to you. Ms. Viacania, do you have a presentation on this?
Just a brief presentation. Good evening. This is part of our enhanced code enforcement effort that we're working along with other items that will be coming to you in the near future. The graffiti ordinance is being amended to add more teeth to our ordinance. And as related in the staff report, it allows it strengthens the collection process and adds penalties to the process. It also provides for a manner in which to attach liens to properties and also garnish bank accounts and so forth. And so these are some of the changes that are being proposed with the ordinance, the changes. If you have any questions, City Attorney, Ms. Martin, and I can answer the questions. Put you on the spot.
Questions? Questions, Ephraim?
Norma, on the staff report, on the discussion where it says confirms the purpose of the provision of the code includes civil penalties from graffiti, a civil fine of $1,000 per incident, and so on. So in order for us to be able to assess the fines, does there have to be a court order, or does the city have the ability to impose the fine without having some
I'm going to turn over to
legal
City
ruling
Attorney.
from a judge or from some referee?
As the ordinance is written, you have the ability to go through the process of imposing the fine, which is like a nuisance, similar to a nuisance abatement collection process for someone who has admitted to a violation of state law as to graffiti or to a violation of this ordinance. It does not require a court conviction. It does, I will point out. You can't just go, hey, we fine you. There is a process that is used, and it's the process in your current nuisance ordinance.
So this provision already existed, so when you say confirms,
Yes.
that means that you reiterating again. Is there any modification on this from the previous one?
I don't recall from the previous one.
We made explicit treble damages in the event of a second violation within a 1-year period. We made explicit that these penalties apply to adults as well as minors, and to that extent, added some provisions that makes it easier to administer the ordinance and separates this track from that under the penal code sections on graffiti.
That's new, the piece is new?
Yes, the new sections are the ones that are added after 18-136. You'll see they're numbered .5, 18-135, 18-136. They restate provisions that were implicit in the other ordinance for ease of citation and city prosecution.
So if we had this before, perhaps under different language, were we ever able to exercise that authority and impose fines on individuals?
I don't know you tried. Did you try?
We've never, we never tried, and under a public nuisance, yes. The problem with graffiti is it's hard to catch someone in the act. So previously under our code enforcement, we've never issued any citations or administrative citations for graffiti.
But I think what you're saying, Betsy, is that the revised language will perhaps facilitate that or reinforce that authority.
The revised language is intended to facilitate that, and it is similar to language that has been successfully used in other cities for this kind of prosecution by the city as opposed to by the district attorney.
Good. Thank you.
Sure, question. Betsy, as far as, do the individuals have to be caught in the act, or can we rely on our police department as far as the monikers and the tags that are tracked back to an individual that, that our law enforcement officers are familiar with as far as certain names and monikers they use around town?
If the tagging itself, if the graffiti itself contains a statement by the author, in other words, hi, my name is Sam, I wrote this, I think that would be sufficient. The identification by the police department alone would not be enough without the person admitting that he or she did it.
I know in the past, and Chief or one of the commanders, if you want to speak to this, in the past we had a task force, or we had members of our police department that would track the monikers to the individuals, so they knew who they were. So and seeing how, like Norma says, it's somewhat hard to be there right at the moment they're tagging. It seems to me it'd be more beneficial to be able to add language or tweak the language so that we could use intel from our police department to then go after these individuals.
Good evening, Council. So, a couple of things. One, ideally, someone would call it in and say, I saw so-and-so do it, or we detain them, and they'll come and cooperate and say, yes, that's the one that I saw spray painting. What we did years ago with the task force, when we identified a lot of them, is we went after them, and through interviews, they basically confessed. But just because someone writes your name on a wall doesn't mean you did it. So we can't just based on, the specific tag, we know it to be this person. That doesn't prove that they wrote it. Another thing is a lot of the tagging is by crews, so they had come up with initials, so there is more than one person tagging that specific set of initials or what have you. So in order to get, well, definitely for the criminal law, and I suspect for the city ordinances, we'll have to identify a tagger and then somehow either through a witness prove that they did it or get them to confess to it. Absent that, it's going to be difficult. But I strongly support city ordinance because the criminal law just isn't, it's not working.
So a confession would apply then? They admit that
Yes.
they did?
Yep, that was me.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
so, again, confessions have worked as far as charging them. It's just, again, the criminal justice system really, in my personal and professional opinion, really did nothing with it. That's why a city ordinance, I believe, with a confession or a witness saying, yeah, that person did it, I believe will hold and have more teeth to it and prove a little more effective.
And what ability would we find to actually collect the money if someone refuses to pay? What's the remedy for collection?
It depends on who the person is. For an adult, well, if a minor is fined, his or her parents are liable up to, I think it's $40,600. That amount goes up every other year, but Judicial Council sets the amount. If in the event that an adult does it, there is not that limit on it. And in order to collect, either at that cap or above, you are allowed to use any contractual remedy for collection, which will include levy on bank accounts, garnishment of wages, liens on property, that kind of thing.
Okay.
One thing this does amplify is the ability to collect the city's costs. Whether or not we can make this self-supporting, I don't know, but it's designed to try to do that through enhanced fines. For example, one of the things that we included at the suggestion of the Community Enhancement Task Force is a minimum amount of cost for the city, set at $500, just because of the time and effort it takes to go after someone. So It also includes a community service offset provision for those who might have been fined but can't pay. I know that was important to the mayor, so.
I would,
This is great.
yeah, I would really like to see a press release go out along with a reminder as to how people can utilize the website to report graffiti, so that, you know, folks understand that we are really serious about taking back our community and cleaning things up. And this, I think, is just one example of many to come.
Yep.
With regard to how we are going to move forward.
And I think that if we found, with the revised language, if we find the mechanism to exercise this and people began to get fined,
Yes.
the message will go out very
Absolutely.
fast. So I think it's a matter of, you know, finding a way to do it and for the community to understand that we are serious about this. And that may be the challenge. I think there's still challenges to that, but I think it's a great step and very positive step.
No sense having an ordinance unless we're going to use it. So, okay, very good. Any other questions or comments? Very good. We'll look for approval of ordinance number 17-08, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of El Centro repealing and readopting Article 7 of Chapter 18 regarding graffiti, waive reading and approve as first reading, and authorize city clerk to place on the agenda for second reading and adoption. We need
Diane,
somebody else to
who are you
vote.
showing that hasn't voted right now?
Jackson,
Yeah, our monitors are flipped.
yours and
So when I moved the motion, it said Efren moved it, and he's the one that hasn't voted, but it's saying that I haven't voted yet.
are you, maybe when you're logged in, or you're logged in, maybe?
Are you both in
I
favor?
don't know.
Yeah.
Okay. There we go.
So just so
All
you
right,
know.
so that's adopted 4-0. Thank you.
Are they logged in?
I can get you
Okay,
both on
we are
this
moving
one.
on now to item number 15, discussion and necessary action regarding the introduction of ordinance number 17 I forgot the number already, regarding smoking restrictions in transit facilities and ECRMC facilities.
Hi, good evening, Honorable Mayor Pro Tem and council members. This item has been brought up out of discussions with ICTC and actually some community outreach that came out to our office. So first of all, just want to make sure that
Hey,
it's
good
not costing
job.
anything.
Letitia,
Good job.
that's for you.
No, right, no impact to the general fund. Oh,
So first thing money,
okay,
right?
that's hilarious.
So no impact to the general fund. So just as a brief background, we got some questions from ICTC and their staff and regarding some smoking areas around the bus terminal. And around the same time, we got some input through our citizens portal about asking about prohibiting smoking. So we had kind of contrary requests. We started looking at our existing ordinance and found out that the existing ordinance as it is good so that we can post our bus terminal as no smoking. So really, there was no action that needed to be taken based on for the bus terminal. With that, we came up with some show and tell for you. So we have we'll be posting some signs
Oh,
under the current
nice.
ordinance for no smoking. So those will go on. There's about eight or so that will be installed at the bus terminal, and so that took care of the bus terminal question. And then we had to address a citizen request, and this came from a citizen who was particularly sensitive to smoke, had asthma, and started referencing other agencies and jurisdictions where they have a radius basically around the bus facilities on where smoking is prohibited. Our ordinance did not have that requirement. It just said no smoking, but didn't provide a distance, and it's kind of difficult to enforce without more clarification, especially at bus stops, which are very small in nature. So we're proposing amending the ordinance to include this 25-foot distance requirement around bus shelters, sometimes and bus stops. Sometimes the bus stops are not more than a post on the sidewalk that says the bus stop's here. So you can count 25 feet around that, and that's your radius of no smoking. Around the same time, we had another request from El Centro Regional Medical Center that they wanted to clarify the ordinance also as it relates to their facilities, and not only to the hospital campus, but as well as to other facilities like the clinicas and whatnot that they operate, the clinics. So we took the opportunity and had them included in this same ordinance, and our city attorney helped us out in coming with that language really fast. So that's really all I have. We're here to propose the first reading for the ordinance. And the next step is it'll basically come back in, I believe, 30 days, if I remember correctly, or so.
This is second reading on the 20th. It'll go into effect 30 days later. And the language regarding El Centro Regional Medical Center was approved by the medical center and their general counsel.
Excellent. Okay.
So
Great,
we're good.
great. Questions?
Question. Abraham, can I see the sign again? Could you just
Yes.
hold it? Did we, I thought there was we brought it up in community enhancement about the,
E-cigs?
yeah, the e-cigs. And
I'm sorry?
the e-cigs or the vapes. And just recently, I think I was at a mall in Coachella Valley, and I saw a sign, and I meant to take a picture of it, but it also had language that included, the e-cigs, because they can actually put the nicotine in them, so you're getting the same smoke in essence than a regular cigarette. So, are we covered? And I guess maybe Betsy, maybe this is a question. Are we covered by just in general saying no smoking? And does that cover everything?
The definition of smoking covers e-cigs. It also covers recreational marijuana in the form of marijuana cigarettes.
Okay, good.
Okay, awesome.
Also, although the cigarette with the line across is, there's no translation needed for that, but do we typically put Spanish signs around the city when we have signage like that?
There is new laws that's about distances from doorways, so there's more signage that we could probably.
No, in Spanish.
Spanish.
Yeah.
Well, this is an international sign message, but we could come up with some no smoke in Spanish and maybe.
I'd like to do that, yeah.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay, any other questions, comments? Great, then let's look for approval of ordinance number 17, an ordinance of, I'm sorry, is it 1717? No, 17.
1709. 09.
1709, an ordinance of the
I'll
City
second for
Council
you.
of City of El Centro amending Article 5 of
he
Chapter
seconded for me.
13,
I think
Section
we logged you in
13.3, regarding smoking in
correctly.
transit facilities and ECRMC facilities, waive reading and approve as first reading, and authorize city clerk to place on the agenda for second reading and adoption. Did it work that time, gentlemen?
So who do you show has
We show you, the mover is Councilmember Garcia and Mr. Jackson as second.
Who hasn't voted?
Our
Mr. Silva.
screens are switched.
Yeah, I think we were logged you in
So I'm still
Correctly.
blinking that I haven't voted.
because you're Mr. Silva, yes.
I don't want to be Mr. Silva.
Sorry.
So you're voting yes? You want to vote yes?
I think we logged you
You
in.
guys agree?
He's second for me, I vote for him.
Okay,
Okay.
we're good.
We'll coordinate our votes and motions today.
Okay, moving on to item number 16. This has to do with the appointment of a voting delegate and alternate to the League of California Cities. Ms. Caldwell, I know that I've registered to attend. Is anyone else planning to go?
For
League of California Cities annual meeting in Sacramento in September. I know that the mayor thought that maybe he might go.
I'm a no. So.
what's it? That's not the one that we're going to.
No, this is in September, the annual
Oh,
conference.
I haven't checked my calendar that far out.
Well, at this time, then, I'm going to make a recommendation that we appoint me as the voting delegate, since I need to be there anyway, since I'm on the board of directors for the league, and then the alternate can be Mayor Cardenas. Is that okay?
You want me to move that for you? Okay.
You guys all right
Go
with
ahead
that?
and vote. Go vote for yes for that. Yeah.
Okay, very good. Item 16 passes 4-0. Moving on then to discussion and necessary action regarding cancellation reduction of council meetings during the summer months. We did look at individual calendars. I think the consensus, we would cancel the July 4th meeting because of the holiday, We would meet the second meeting in July, and then we would go dark the month of August. To the extent we had an emergency item or a reason to meet, we would have a meeting in August. So I think that's the recommendation at this time. Diane, do you need us to put that in the form of an official motion?
If you could, please.
Okay, so the motion will be that the city council, or El Centro City Council will go dark the meeting of July 4th, as well as both meetings in August of 2017. We will call a special meeting if necessary. You guys down there agree on what this?
Oh, I second it, okay. Efren's
Thank
voting
you.
yes.
Okay, that passes 4-0. So staff, it'd be really important for us to kind of know if something's coming up in a timely manner that you need our action on, and we'll move that forward. Okay, we're moving on now to legislative action, discussion, and necessary action to support or oppose SB 744. Who's making this presentation? Ms. Villacania? No.
She's like, nope.
Good evening. I just want to introduce Mr. Platero. He has approached the city and he's requesting a letter of opposition be submitted in regards to SB 744. And this particular bill only applies to 3 or 4 billboards that are located in Imperial County. They're not within our city limits, but they're outside they're within Imperial County. And Mr. Platero can give you more information on the bill.
Well, Interstate 8, I think we consider to be the gateway to the city of El Centro, so it does have application to us. I thank you, Ms. Villacania. Okay.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and council members. Victor Platero. I'm here today representing Lamar Outdoor Advertising, Xavier Outdoor Advertising, and the California State Outdoor Advertising Association. As Norma was so kind to give you guys a brief background on what Senate Bill 744 entails, and what it is that they're trying to exempt 3 illegal billboards that are adjacent to the off-ramps of Interstate 8 and Highway 111. They're trying to exempt those from the Outdoor Advertising Act, basically legalizing illegal billboards. They're illegal because they've never been permitted properly. When they were built in 1993, they were issued a building permit, from my understanding. They were issued a building permit contingent upon a state permit. State permit was never received, and the county permit was rescinded. These structures have been up there and have been cited for violations a number of times, for having copy on them, and for Caltrans has cited them, basically telling them to remove the copy they have and to take them down. Instead, they've decided to leave them up there, and they advertise what we call non-commercial speech, so that it doesn't advertise a specific business, just kind of gives a PSA message. The reason why we're looking for support and opposition to this is we feel that this sets the wrong precedents, not only, of course, affecting at the county level, but at every level in every city in Imperial County. The precedent that this sets is business owners and landowners are going to say, well, I'm just going to go ahead and build a billboard and call my senator to get me exempt from the rules. We feel that it's a little bit unfair to businesses that do things the right way, get the permits the right way, and it's if you read into the Senate bill itself, you can tell that it's very one-sided. It benefits one person. There is no funds generated for any local government by legalizing these billboards. It clearly, all the revenue and profits go directly to the individual who placed the signs there illegally to begin with. A big issue that this also affects is the federal highway funding, because not only should this Senate bill pass, it's still going to be illegal on the state and federal level. At the federal level, this violates the Federal Highway Beautification Act, and with that comes what's called a 10% withhold of funds penalty we're talking $350 million that can be withheld. And with all the construction that's going on right now on I-8, it'd be terrible to lose money when they're trying to fix everything along I-8 right now. Also with the new Trump administration and the not so great relationship that's gone on between the state of California, to give them more fuel to limit funds because we have illegal structures on a state on a federal, on a federally funded highway is just not, it's not a good look for us. And we wanted to reach out to the city of El Centro to see if we can gain your support in opposition to this Senate bill. In the booklet I've provided you guys on the pages following the actual floor alert that went to the Senate is where it states why it's illegal at the state level. It's more than one reason. Those structures are not within 1,000 feet of any business. They're too close to the off-ramps. And if you turn to the pages right after that, you're going to look at the county ordinance for signage, where it specifically states that off-site advertising signs shall not be located along state, federal, or county highways which either do not permit such signs or are regulated by another regulatory agency. So, stating, I mean, it states right there that that these structures should not be legalized.
It's kind of like rewarding bad behavior, it seems
Well,
like.
like I said, that's what we're trying to avoid, is setting that precedent. I mean, like I said, it's been shocking to us that how fast it's moved through the Senate. It's passed the third reading in the Senate, and the only spot we're able to fight it now is at the assembly level. And any support from local cities would help to stop this from them exempting these billboards. That's what we're here today, to see if we can get any support from the city on this bill.
Questions?
Well, I don't get it. Tell me the essence of your opposition. Those billboards have been there for a long time, and I recognize that they have not done commercial advertising. There's been other kinds of things.
Correct.
I almost see it as a wrong that is being corrected, and that I don't know who even owns the signs. I have no knowledge as to who owns them or who would ultimately benefit from this. But it seems to me that they have paid the price for building them illegally over the years, because they have not been able to generate revenue off of those signs or significant revenue off of all the years they've been there. They've been there forever.
Correct, sir. It's the reasoning, I guess, in opposition is, why should they be rewarded when they should have never have been built to begin with?
But I think they've been penalized by not being able to collect significant revenue off of those structures for years. So to me, I honestly don't get it. And what's the harm in allowing them to have a billboard at a pretty visible
The harm is the precedence that you're setting by allowing these boards to be legalized, because they are illegal structures, and it lets every landowner and anyone that can build billboards think that they can build where they want to and just call their senator to get exempted from the rules.
I mean, I see what you're saying, but I honestly see no harm in converting an illegal structure, as you call it, and making it legal or making it viable for advertisement. So I can't support personally, I can't support what you're asking us to do.
I think I want to kind of look at the top of the second page of the letter. So, and this would be the last page in the packet. So
Yeah, I'm sorry. The last two letters are letters that were written by the Outdoor Advertising Association to Senator Westphal.
Exactly. And so I want to look at this. So on two separate occasions, the state has issued notices of violation for the use of the signs. So has the state requested that they remove the structures?
They can. Yeah, the state can only request it. They cannot.
They can't require it.
No.
That was going to be my question. Why did they never, why can they not, or why did they not, back in 93 or 94, force them to remove it, or as they were being built, have, in essence, red tag the project and not allow them to continue?
Well, they were built. They were built initially, they were built and then applied for a state permit.
And then the state permit was denied because
Correct,
of
because they do,
zoning or-
right.
It reminds me of when we had that, the sign issue with Holiday Inn Express, and we ended up having them remove the sign because it was illegally constructed and advertising too far off premises, remember, along the freeway? I take kind of a contrary view to Mr. Silva. I'm kind of a rules follower that way, I guess, and my concern would be what message this would send to other folks just wanting to go out there and willy-nilly throw up billboards here, there, and everywhere, and there not be a mechanism to force people to take them down. That's what would be of concern to me. And kind of at this late stage, since it's already been passed or third reading in the Senate, is that what you're saying?
Yes, ma'am.
I would suggest that if this passes, that a letter be sent not only to the two senators, but sent directly to the governor urging that he not sign
Yes, ma'am.
the legislation.
The letters that we will be submitting are going to the state capitol with our lobbyist from the California State Outdoor Advertising Association that are providing those letters to every single entity that this bill has to go through.
And you know, not a knock on your business or anything, but I'm not a big fan of advertising billboards right along the freeway anyway, but that's a whole nother issue.
I have a question, though, is, so you said it's basically it's through the Senate. So does it then go to the Assembly?
Yes, sir.
And so this whole bill is basically for those two billboards?
That's
Or
right.
three?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And how are you, I'm with Cheryl on this one. I believe that, you know, because they did it wrong, you know, even if they suffered, and they did, obviously they've suffered the monetary penalty over the years, but still, those billboards will be there forever. And if they can start generating income, then you know, they're wrong that they did in 1993 is being rewarded now. But how are you going to get anybody to support this? Obviously, as we've seen, any issue that's being brought forth with the governing party at this point is passing. So is your best hope to try to get the governor to veto it?
This Senate bill barely passed the third Senate reading. At every level it's passed, it's barely passed. And the reasoning for it barely passing and not being denied is because there hasn't been enough opposition for it. There hasn't been anybody to stand up and speak in opposition. This was all done very quick.
Well, because if we don't stand up and say, and it's right in our frickin' backyard, if we're not the ones that say we don't want it, who else is gonna care? They're gonna say, well, you know what?
I hate to
Senator
say it. I hate to say it,
you
but
know,
that was
I
one
love
of
your
the,
bill, and I
that
want
was
you to vote yes on my bill, and here's my.
one of the things
happens
said
all
at
the time.
the Senate reading
does.
is, you know, well, where are these boards at? You know,
Yeah.
and I mean, I take pride in it because I live here, and that's, you know, we operate here, you know. But to say that just because it doesn't make it any less right, doesn't make it any, you know, less wrong what they're doing. Just
And I
because
guess
of
I
where
would have
we're at.
appreciated a phone call or something from Senator Waso saying, hey, by the way, we're gonna sponsor this bill, and this is why we're doing it, and.
I do think it's pretty amazing that our senator wrote a bill specifically for this project. That's an amazing.
Okay, any other comments?
Are you getting
Questions?
support from county or?
I spoke at the Board of Supervisors meeting this morning, and the same information I provided to you, I provided to them. And the feeling I got from most of the Board of Supervisors is they were not privy to all of this information.
Yeah. Okay, so the.
So, please
oh,
just, Dan, so it appears that
Would you like to take a
Judge and I are
voice?
going to vote differently. So
Oh,
how do we
let's-
handle this here?
Let's do a voice vote.
Okay.
Okay,
It won't
so-
be
Oh, this would be
displayed.
more fun if we just did it this way. Because Efren's got a
Switch
motion right
seats.
now.
You wanna-
He doesn't know it, but he's gonna vote.
I need a motion related to item number 18.
So moved.
Well, a motion to oppose
To
SB?
oppose SB 744.
Second.
Okay, we'll do a voice ballot, please, Diane?
Jackson,
Yes.
Silva,
No.
Garcia,
Yes.
Villegas Walker.
Yes. So if you need those letters turned around ASAP, how quickly can we get them signed and out the door?
Before you have a sample letter, unless there's any comments on that, we can pretty much use that letter and have our mayor prepare it for his signature possibly by tomorrow.
Okay, can we also, again, I think that, will a separate letter go to the governor, or should we CC the governor with this?
I will make sure that happens.
Okay, all right, very good. We'll have those prepared
Thank
and
you.
signed tomorrow. Thank you for bringing this to our attention.
And
Okay.
Can you also follow up with our clerk and let us know if the county follows suit with the letter?
Yes, sir. There's going to be more. There's going to be more of a process with the county. I'll need to get things on the agenda with them again. But Mike Kelly has assured me that I will have that opportunity.
Next Tuesday, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have a couple of informational items. There's no business for the successor agency to RDA or the housing agency. Any public comments? No public comments. Task Force Council Member reports, starting with Mr. Jackson.
Real quickly, attended the Memorial Day service with the mayor and the pro tem. We got really late notice that it was going to go on. I think we talked about that on Thursday before the break, but they did put it on and came off really well. Attendance was about the same. Really wish the attendance would be bigger, but unfortunately, it's always about the same. See what else. This period, or was that the last? That was last one, wasn't it? Did we? The veterans luncheon, was that in this last 2-week period?
Yes, it was on the 20th.
Oh, it was right after last meeting, huh? Yeah.
20th.
So I think we all attended that. I think Mr. Garcia was sick that day and missed it, but what a really nice recognition by our local veterans. They threw a luncheon for the council and a thank you luncheon that we constructed the Veterans Memorial and the wall at Buckland Park. And yeah, because I actually have the plaques at the house. So I have plaques that were awarded or presented to us, and I'll be bringing those to the city. I'll bring those to the next meeting so that we can see them. But you know, that project was a big part of my last year as mayor, and I appreciate the council 100% supporting that movement. But to see and to hear those people actually speak about how important that memorial is to them, really made it even better for us. And they're so passionate. One Vietnam vet said, "I had to wait 50+ years to have somebody finally say thank you." So it was a very heartfelt luncheon and very appreciative. And we all had a great time. And Cheryl, you made part of it and then had to leave for another event, but it was really a nice event. And there is going to be I haven't asked staff where we are with this, but met with the veterans. The mayor met with me also the other day about using the Veterans Memorial for Flag Day flag burning ceremony. And do we know if they got their permit in yet? Does anybody know?
I believe they've been submitting the paperwork to our recreation staff.
Okay.
So I can follow up on that.
And I spoke with CR&R, and they are going to be a sponsor of the event. They're going to supply us with a 10-foot roll-off deal for the burning. Had Chris from Parks, and so Chief was there, Fire Chief, and also Air Pollution Control Director Matt Desert. So we kind of brought everybody together, and they want to make this an annual event every year. So we're hopefully, if everything gets done paperwork-wise, we'll send out a press release on the event. It'll be on Flag Day on the 14th, and they're going to encourage anybody from the public that has a American flag that needs to be disposed of the right way to go ahead and bring that to the ceremony, and that'll start at 7 p.m. at Buckland Park.
Excellent. Thank you, Jason. Frank?
Yes, I also attended that Veterans Appreciation Luncheon that was organized for, as a gratitude to the council for the Vietnam Memorial. And it was, I was very, very touched by the speech that was delivered by Mr. Henderson, and I actually asked for a copy of that because he just did an outstanding job in recognizing what our veterans have done for our community. And as Mr. Jackson has indicated, the level of appreciation was just overwhelming, and I was very, very, it was very emotional for me to hear that kinds of compliments for us and the council. And I think the mayor did an outstanding job in giving credit to Mr. Jackson, who kind of spearheaded that effort during his mayorship, and I think that was recognition very well deserved. I also, Cheryl, I want to say that at your next ICTC meeting,
Yes.
you should probably thank, on our behalf, IBC's behalf, Mark Baza. Earlier, a couple of weeks ago, I heard from a group of students at IBC that they had some concerns over the public transportation schedule at IBC and how that schedule did not work for a lot of the students, and students were forced to leave class early to be able to make the bus, or they had to wait for hours. And in that meeting, they indicated that they had reached out to the Transportation Commission and had not received an answer. So that's why I asked you for his number. I called Mark.
Yes.
Mark responded immediately. Within 3 days,
Okay.
we had the meeting, and Mark was very gracious and heard the students, and committed to have some results and to reevaluate the bus schedule so that it works better for students. So I was very appreciative of that.
Very good.
And his responsiveness to the needs of our students at IBC. I also just want to remind the council, I mentioned this at the last meeting, but this Friday at 5:30 p.m. at the old post office pavilion, you all received your invitation from the consulate, where we're having a end of year celebration through our Casa de Cultura and the workshops and the events that have taken place there in the last few months, and that was a very successful program. Thank you to our deputy city manager and all the staff from the city that worked well together. At first, there were some issues, and there's always kinks that need to be worked out, but all of those things got worked out, and my gratitude to the council, and I just want to let you know that this initiative and the MOU with the council has worked really well. I think there's efforts still to continue over the summer and continue to provide these opportunities for our citizens and our children to do a lot of fun things that have cultural value to them. So I hope that you are able to join me this Friday at 5:30 p.m.
Very good, thank you.
I actually don't have anything to report.
We're
so
glad
go
you're
ahead.
feeling better. Yeah, okay. So, let's see, May 17th through 19th was the next installment of the California Connections through the Southern California Leadership Network. So we were in Los Angeles and Orange counties. In July, we're gonna do San Diego, Inland Empire, and I'm gonna be doing a presentation on Imperial County. So I think that's gonna be pretty cool. Maybe it's a presentation I can show everybody here, and you guys can give me your input before I go up there. The luncheon at the American Legion, I agree, it was fantastic. I do feel bad I needed to leave a little early for a funeral. Enough said on that. I did take a tour of the Town Center Villas, the new housing, the apartment complex. They're having a little bit of an issue up there with Wi-Fi. Didn't quite do the installation, get all the installation stuff done ahead of time, but they're working through that. We also had an ECRMC board meeting on the 23rd. The Community Enhancement Task Force met on the 24th. We're just making a lot of progress with that task force. Don't you think we get a lot done, Jason?
We do.
And that's,
And we have a
that's
lot of good stuff coming up.
yeah, so please be sure to read your minutes. You'll get an update on the police department facility, the library facility updates on our streetlight policy, installation of additional bus stops, the traffic improvements on H Street, Dogwood Avenue fence, the entrance fence layout update, Plank Park. We also discussed the condition of downtown. fact, we are having a walking tour of downtown on the 15th. Do we have a time scheduled yet? Don't. 8:30 on the 15th. Okay, excellent. Earlier the better. On that, we had an update on safe routes to
Sorry,
school.
so is it okay if there's more than 3 of us for this, just walking
I
tour?
think so, right? If we don't talk about specific policies or anything?
It's just, this is not a social event.
No, we're just gonna be taking a look at the buildings.
Part of the code enforcement program that we're trying to implement. And basically what it is just walking the downtown to look at some of the issues.
Will there be a meeting with community members or business members in the downtown?
Follow-up, yes. That's part of it.
If necessary, we'll notice it as a meeting and let you know.
Okay, but I would really encourage council members, if you have the time, again, that's Thursday the 15th at 8:30. We've talked about additional outreach to the businesses down there, and so I think that to the extent we could get a few council members would be great. Community enhancement, we also had an update on the Safe Routes to School program, the downtown lighting project, talked about the graffiti ordinance, and to come is a shopping cart ordinance. And when will that be coming?
After community involvement?
Okay. Okay. We're looking to see what we can do to make sure those wayward shopping carts get back to the people that they belong to. League of California Cities dinner on the 25th was fantastic. I thought that the presentation by Dr. Ponce was very well received. 31st, I was in Los Angeles on the 31st for the SCAG strategic planning session, and then the RC meeting on the 1st, and then went to the branding award in Brawley on the 1st. Want to commend staff on your recreation program for the summer. It looks like it's really going to be wonderful. Upcoming agenda items. Diane, I think that when the city council took action to increase the salaries, council salaries, we had moved or included in that there would be an annual review. If you could review that, I think we would like to make a statement with regard to what's included in that ordinance, because I think it requires an annual review. I'd also like us to talk about Measure P as an item. Would like us to talk about perhaps establishing either a task force, a specific task force that's going to be focused on that, and or if you would prefer the community enhancement task force to act as a de facto Measure P. But I think we need to be revisiting our campaign materials, estimates of the dollars to be spent, tracking project status, and that sort of thing. Want to commend staff, our Deputy City Mayor, for showing up at the County Board of Supervisors meeting and tracking the fee proposal. County supervisors are going out for an updated fee study that may have some impacts with regard to the city of El Centro, so we want to make sure that we are fully engaged in that process. Also like to think about planning a road trip up to El Cajon. They're getting ready to get to work on their long-planned animal shelter. Might remember that was funding that was approved by the voters in El Cajon. And what date is this? November. Yeah, it's going to be completed in 2018. So I'd like us to get up there and take a look at what they've done and how much they're spending. It's based off a sales tax measure, I think, similar to ours. So. And the last thing, remember the young lady that came to us about the park cleanup? So I think for the fall, we should be thinking about maybe a park cleanup.
I actually have
You got one?
Yeah, we I haven't talked to staff yet.
Good one, Jason.
El Centro Kiwanis was going to do that cleanup
Right.
a couple months ago, and because of some things, broken ribs and some other things, we canceled that. We have slated that for June 17th, which is not this Saturday, but next Saturday.
See, and I was thinking to do it when the weather got a little cooler, but.
Yeah, it was, we had to fit it in someplace.
I do have to say that the area just east of 7th Street which was terribly brown, is
Yeah.
beginning
Yeah,
to
they
look
bring
green.
it up.
Yeah.
So I'll get with you tomorrow and we'll figure it, or maybe we'll talk afterwards.
Hey,
Sorry.
that's wonderful. I'm sure there's lots of work to be done. Mine will be done in a cooler part of the year.
Oh, you want
so-
to come out and help us?
How
We're gonna start at
early is-
5:30.
Well, okay, maybe if it's early.
Yeah.
Okay, so, any of you folks have anything to share with us? Yeah.
Early.
I have one question for Terry. Terry, over by the mall, before you get to the bridge, we've got there's like maybe 5 short streetlights. None of those work. They haven't worked for months. And I thought maybe they were disconnected when they were doing the lighting on the bridge, but now the lighting is up on the bridge, but those 4 or 5 short ones don't work.
Streetlights.
Yeah.
I'll look into that.
Okay. They're those short
On-
stop.
on Dogwood.
On Dogwood, just south of the bridge, on the east side.
And we're gonna get
It's interesting you say that.
we're gonna get our downtown sign repaired and replaced, right?
That's right, and we're doing the others as well. Since the new one is gonna be so bright,
Oh, right.
we looked at
Gotta
the
do
others
the
and
whole
said,
thing.
well, we need to do those as well.
Do we have any jurisdiction over
Of course we do.
parking lots, lighting working at commercial parking lots?
Commercial parking lots?
Uh-huh, like the Cardenas Shopping Mall and Planet Fitness and Ashley Furnitures. Their parking lights don't work.
If you've
Yeah.
got to see.
You get there when it's dark. So do we have any jurisdiction over that? Anybody?
We can call them, I don't know if it's programmed, they're programmed to, maybe with the time change or whatever, but
If they have a CUP, it'll have.
Yeah, we
lighting.
can look into that.
Okay.
If you want to email me specific
all
lots or businesses,
What they've got in
we're
their
definitely looking
conditions.
into that.
That would be great. Okay, so the last thing is I need a ride home. Is anybody going 600 block of Sandalwood?
I give you
Going the other way.
You're going to ride home? Okay, thank you. All right, we are adjourned. Thank you.